What's going on, everybody? Wilson here, your spiritual hype man. Super happy to be back. I'm super happy that you guys are listening. I see the stats. I see people joining. It makes me feel good. I hope you feel good. I'm assuming you feel good with hearing some of these perspectives. And so I want to start off by saying that Happy New Year. It's obviously like the first week, second week almost of January. Um, I took, well, I guess lots of stuff has happened. Okay, so on the macro level sense, let me just share with you what I got for you right now. And let's start with this. I hope you're having a good day. If you're not, just remember it's the thoughts in your head, and you just got to learn how to change those prompts. You either need to shut it off, right? Become the Jedi mind master in terms of being able just to think of something else, prompt yourself to think something else, good thoughts. What are you proud of? Who loves you? Certain things like that. It's tough. I know it's tough. All right. I've been living it, right? You guys have been hearing about it. And I've been living it to just get out of it, right? The idea is to get to that level where you're feeling some sort of way, you identify it, and you know it doesn't serve you, and then boom, instantly you're on some new level shit. But it does take practice. Like with everything else, consistency, it does take a little bit of practice. So I encourage you to keep doing it. And at the same time, biohacking, right? So going outside, yelling, screaming, jumping jacks, jumping in the ice bath, doing some push-ups, just getting out and enjoying yourself. There's more to life than just the structured, this structured journey of like, I gotta go to work, I gotta make money, I gotta do this, like everything that you do. Now, don't get me wrong, consistency and structure is good, right? But there's a more to life than just that, right? There's more to life than just that, and it's a balance. It's a tough balance when there's so many things going on at once. And again, if we're not at a level of understanding who we are, where we are, what we want to feel, and how to get out of these funks, it can be really really tough. But we're here to support. I'm here to support, and that's what it is. I feel like support groups, support people, spiritual hype man like me, and other people around you. Like even the spiritual hype man needs a spiritual hype man. You know what I mean? Like your counselors need a counselor. I always say this. I was like, if there's a therapist out there or a counselor, I want to talk to your therapist and counselor. You know what I mean? So it's just these thoughts of understanding that, like there's lots of things happening within everybody's life, outside of the paradigm of what we see from others, right? So like a good example is I'm part of the BNI group. Shout out to BNI. I enjoy BNI very much, not only for the business that it's helped me generate within our media production company, but I would say the people that I've connected to and the ability that I've have to have friendships and a support group around me, right? Like I don't have very close family close by here. And other than that, it's myself, Patty, and the kids, right? Or the kiddo that is here with us, one left. And so that is just an important part. Like I've realized that a support group of having the right type of people, of having a good friend or having friends, um, is important. And for those that have friends, good for you. Okay, good for you. For people that have that support group, good for you. But again, everyone, there's so much going on in everyone's lives that at some sort of vertical, we need to keep working on ourselves for something better. And that's what I feel like there's been plenty of just things that have happened the last couple of weeks to just reinforce these thoughts and reinforce uh some of the learnings, right? Or some of the progress that I've made in my own personal journey. Um I just don't even know where to start. Like there's so many things going on. For example, like uh, when we were out in Georgia, unfortunately, uh, there was a moment where we were out with a couple of the kiddos, and one kiddo specifically, I felt like every time mom, Patty, had something to say or was joking around, it was just like a snapback. Like it was just kind of like a big shutdown from the kiddo. And I get it because we were in front of his we were in front of peers, right? We were in front of other people. And initially like I caught it a couple times and I just like stuffed it. Like I stuffed it down below and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna let it be. And then if for some reason we were out to eat and it happened again, or I interpret it as happening again, right? And I just kind of I spoke on it. I was like, hey, listen, stop with the disrespect. Like every time mom's trying to say something, you keep coming back with this attitude or the snapback, basically, like, well, you don't know what you're talking about, or no, or like with that type of attitude. It's just that. And I just didn't like it. I didn't like it, but I allowed myself to be reactive in the moment in front of his peers, our people that we were with. Um, and so for context, like I understand, like at the age that he's at, like I revert back to my age, and I understand that as part of I guess the growing up process, or like when your parents are just not cool and you fucking think you know everything, like you know what I mean? Like I get it because I've been there, I've done it, not maybe not in that manner. Um, well, maybe I have done it in that manner. So again, it's understanding these things, and then my intention, I believe, is correct. My intention to address wrong behavior, I think, was correct. I just think, again, in the manner that I did it, it affected the kiddo, that he got upset and just kind of got mad and kept going, and so hold on one second. Thank you so much. Uh, um. And so what happened was, he ended up getting upset and kind of wanted to continue, and then somebody else already told him to drop it, and then so we sort of dropped it. I was like, listen, we'll just have a conversation about this later. And it just, that basically kind of like ruined the rest of the trip. Not that we had that much longer, but then we got home and we ended up going to Colombia, which is part of, if you haven't listened to the episodes about Colombia and kind of my perspective on getting there, and my hometown of like, holy shit, I can't believe it. This is how I grew up. And then, I'm super grateful. Listen to that episode. But we got back, and our kiddo was no longer like, our kiddo moved out, the one that we had the issue with. Like he ended up making like an impulse emotional judgment and ended up moving out, which to a certain extent, like at his age, it was like, okay, dude, go. Like you've done it once, you came back, that's cool. Time for you to go. Like we support that. Like we were happy that it's like, okay, cool, man. Like you want to go and do this on your own, and succeed, fail, do whatever you got to do, figure out life based on the things that you already know how to do. Go do it. The thing that we had, like I guess the issue was, or what mom was a little upset, and this is what happens. It's like, because I did that, to a certain extent, I feel I feel responsible for the fact that all of that transpired, right? Thinking about it, like in this very instant, like obviously I know I'm not the only personal person responsible for it, because of the behavior itself, maybe not being addressed or corrected earlier on, in terms of like how we humans, we just behave the way we behave until something changes, right? Nothing changes until you do. Um, but I feel super responsible for then the effect it has on Patty based on what I did, because I feel like if I didn't do that and I would have had a better conversation with him, and it wouldn't have reacted in that way, or that situation wouldn't have had an outcome of that manner, then things would have been a little different. But again, he may have still been here, and then maybe it's not the push that he needed to go out and be a little more self-sufficient in terms of what he needs to do as an adult anyway. So that was one. And of course, like I put myself in Patty's situation, and I know Patty has dealt with mom guilt, and still deals with mom guilt for the longest. And so for me, I like, after those things happen, I'm like, fuck, I'm adding to this guilt. I'm adding to this detrimental thing that I know affects Patty in a way that, like, if she doesn't get any help or emotional support around it, it turns into a monster for her. It turns into something that leads into not good actions, like not good behavior, right? And so that was that was the first thing. We discussed it. I spoken with Patty. We just tried to get over the fact that this is what's happening. Ultimately, seeing it as a good thing. Ultimately, seeing that there's things that we can be better at. But to this day, like the kiddo is yet to respond to mom for text messages and things like that. So again, I've been there where I felt some sort of way, and I haven't talked to my mom. Where there were moments where I haven't had talked to my mom for maybe like 3 years. But over I think it was just it. I think in comparison, it's just there's different situations, right? Like when I look at it, I'm like, the reason I did versus the reason he did, it's just it wasn't even mom's fault, like in terms of what it was like. And again, I don't know if the thought is like, well, why did mom step up for me? But at the same time, it's like, like, I don't know. So that's something that we're still working through, and we're still working on. So um what can I say about that? For me, I guess my own personal stories or my own personal lesson for this is really just more of picking and choosing the right moments to say something, even if it is correct, and or comma hyphen the way that I say it, right? So I think looking back at it, I'm like, okay, what was my decision? How was I feeling? What was my emotion, my influence, my thought, my emotion, my decision, my action in that situation? My emotional side was getting very upset because Patty, as my other half, my best friend, my lover, like that person, the person I love very much, is being shut down. And to me, I interpret it as disrespectful. And that's my biggest thing. It's like when there's a line of respect and a line of disrespect, I do not like when that happens. And I either shut it down right away, or I just literally stop dealing with that person. Um, and so that's what it was. So again, going back to the situation, I felt like I probably and I should have taken my time. I shouldn't have reacted in front of everybody in the peers, right? Because like you sort of get called out in front of people, especially if you're trying to impress them or you're trying to, whatever at that age in terms of like I know what I'm doing. I look at me, I'm cool, like that sort of mentality. I should have just waited till after dinner or waited to get home, waited till everybody was in and just had a one-to-one conversation with him, which again, I think the outcome would have been different. There would have been a less negative impact. And again, maybe he still would have been here, which would have been fine. But again, maybe it was the push he needed just to be more independent and be on his own, et cetera, et cetera. I hope I hope that at some point, and I would assume at some point they'll get back to talking, or he'll sort of figure that out. And again, it sort of always seems like the blame is on me, for a lot of this shit, which I take it. I take it. I just don't want to give it to Patty, but ultimately, like Patty also gets affected because it's us two in a relationship, and the kids are part of the relationship, but they're also independent to the relationship. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. So I'm just hoping that, hoping things work out in a way that it works out positively, and we can take some of that mom guilt off of Patty because I know it can be very destructive. Um, Now, what was the second thing? Okay, so the second thing that has happened is, for Christmas, I stayed here by myself. One thing, if you heard some of the last podcasts, and again, this is like dealing with family, emotion, learning how to become better in your own situation, and understanding who is who are, how are they, what do they need, what do they not need, and then how much time, effort, energy, and emotion do you want to give to certain individuals, even if they are part of your family. Um, Patty ended up going to Vegas, hanging out with her mom, her brother, which was a good thing. They actually went and accomplished what they needed to accomplish. And then her other kiddo out there, who is looking to figure himself out, work through whatever he's gone through in terms of throughout his life, and just hang out with his other brother and his mom. Unfortunately, part of the trip, just ended up in, again, one of the kiddos being upset after a couple of drinks, and then not being in control, and then just being upset, and like just being very negative towards Patty, towards his mom, right? Um, it happens. I've been there. I understand, to a certain extent, because I've been there. I understand. I also understand what the kid may need, or the kiddo, or that person in that situation. So to me, it's the reason I changed the way that I was, because I was similar in certain scenarios where I would get in these cycles of being angry, being detrimental to myself, and then being detrimental to others, and really having a way to like kind of stick it to you emotion, like really fucking verbally give it to you to a way that you would feel like the worst piece of shit alive, right? And it would be coming from me to the other person, right? So I would be like, it's just a psychological way of abuse. Honestly, it's what it is. It's like just abuse, for lack of other medical terms, or other words. Um, and so I can see these patterns, because that is part of the nothing changes until you do. It's like understanding the moments, the things that you have to fucking change in order to get a different outcome from yourself, the people closest to you, and what you want out of life. And so just hearing, and again, this is why I decided to stay here, because I've realized throughout the last couple of years that there are certain types, or certain situations when it comes to family type time stuff, my family too included, that I just cannot be at these situations because of things like what happened with Rudy. Oh, fuck, I dropped his name. There you go, Rudy. Of things that happened with the kiddo in Georgia when we went to that, right? Like that situation I just said previously, like because I can get to a level that it upsets me, and I am still working on. Let me fucking be a woosah here, woosah, and let me do it in the manner that makes most sense. But I also battle with the level of if someone is disrespecting Patty to a level that I do not appreciate, then it becomes like my emotion then becomes anger. And then that anger, then like anybody else, when you get angry, you do or say things that later on you're not going to feel good about. And so, based on that and knowing that and kind of foreseeing the future, I decided to stay home by myself on Christmas while they were there, Christmas and New Year's, which again, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I think time for yourself is super important in a relationship and whatever. Very much miss Patty. However, it was a good decision for me to go there. When Patty gets back, I hear of some of the shenanigans of what's happening, and I was also able to read some of like the back and forth, right? Like just the back and forth in the communication among mom and kiddo, which upsets me very much that again, it's just something that we're dealing with. Part of our I say our family. It's our family because we have Patty and I are together as a family. I don't think some of the kiddos sees us as that. Like they don't, for the long we've been together for 10 years and there's still just pullback, right? And it's really more from the kid from the one kiddo in Vegas. There's just pullback of me as a person or me as the individual ruining whatever they had before. Like, you know what I mean? Like that story you keep telling yourself or they keep telling themselves in certain aspects, obviously coming from different influences, one being the kid's parent, the other kid's father or whatever. So again, this is just being real. I don't want to say vulnerable. I think it's just being honest in terms of sharing some of the stuff that we've gone through and the fucking ups and downs of just being in certain families or not being with certain people that are yet at a level of like consciousness um to to um to get to like realize like the things that you need to change. They're knowing like knowing that like dude, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to have this feeling with my parent. I don't want to have this um that was Patty. She says hello. And I'm sharing with her that I'm in the middle of a podcast and I'm trying to get through it. So please stop texting me until afterwards. Um, and so like again, it's just understanding and it's a little bit harder because with family, you're sort of forced to interact and to do things, especially during the holidays. But I've also realized that like even though they're your family, there are individuals, there are human beings, there are people that potentially, if they weren't your family member and if they did this to you or if they said it to you in a certain manner, would you continue wanting to speak with them? Would you want to continue doing these things with them? And that was the point that I had addressed with Patty. I'm like, look, I understand, and I don't understand what I don't understand. I don't understand the connection between a mother and a kid. I don't because I'm not the mother and I don't have any kids, right? I don't understand. I will never be able to feel that in terms of like the empathy of having that, which I think is something that's important, and I would assume it's just it's undeniable something because obviously my mom had that with me, even though like we had turbulent relationships, et cetera, et cetera. Um, comma semicolon hyphen um I think there's also a reasonable and logical limit to that if the individual is at it the other or it doesn't matter whether it's mom or the kid or the father of the kid or whatever like whatever individuals within family members if that person is detrimental to either themselves or you as the individual um to a level that like it it holds you back as the individual to progress moving forward um and so that's my take, right? That's my take on it. That's my thought. That's like my thought right now. So it becomes it becomes like a hard situation to try to deal with it with Patty. Me being the guy that ruined everything, sort of thing. Which again, I don't think that's the case because if you were to look back at past precedent, yeah, was it tough? Yeah, was it tough living with me? Absolutely. Like, but was it easier than what it was before? And then was it easier later on after like like I continued making these changes in terms of my internal self? I think so. If we were to look at it and look back and compare and contrast. But again, it like if you don't have the ability to consciously see that or look forward or see the big picture, then you're really just an individual that's stuck in this, you know, very tight perspective that it's just basically more about poor me kind of shit versus like, okay, well, I'm kind of responsible for myself now, even though all this shit already happened or this may have happened or may have affected me. Like, how do I deal with it in a way that's going to help me and the situation and the relationship and the family and the business owner, like fill in the blank, move forward in a positive way, right? Because we're not fucking perfect. Nobody here is perfect. We've all done shit that we look back and we're like, fuck, I probably shouldn't have done that. But the thing is, how many more times are we going to do that and repeat the same fucking cycle before you get better? Right. And that's it with anything in life. It's with anything, whether it's driving, whether it's relationships, whether it's the work that you do, like same thing. Like, have I always been the best business owner in terms of follow up, in terms of making sure the client is happy or make it like probably not, definitely not. No, or even the product, right? But again, why did the client fire me? Okay, because I fucking didn't do this, and this correctly. Cool. So if I don't want that to happen again, I just need to get better at it. And then hopefully, have a conversation with the client, be like, hey, this is the situation, this is where I fucked up. Thank you for calling that out, and I'm gonna do better. And they can choose to do work with you or not. But again, it's the same fucking thing as a relationship or a family. It's like if you're detrimental to my bottom line, which is health, wealth, and emotional happiness, I can put you on the sideline, and if you're ready and when you're ready, I can bring you back in. But I can't keep coming back and forth trying to like push you up a hill when you're just kicking and screaming up the hill. Like it just doesn't make sense, right? So that's that's a lot. So like that's what we've been dealing with from like Thanksgiving. Like I went to Colombia. We went to Colombia for my birthday. It was like Thanksgiving, then to from Thanksgiving to New Year's to like now to January. I don't want to date this thing, but till the first or second week of January is really like what we've been dealing with. And then conversation between Patty and I in terms of intimacy and relationships, and like where are we in our relationship. So it's been a fucking shit ton of emotional, um just drain. Like I feel like we both feel a little bit drained. On top of that, obviously still trying to progress the business moving forward, still trying to work together inside of business. um so it's just been a lot, which then again brings me back to the support group. It brings me back to having people that you can at least share with. And this is what I think my point was with Patty was like, I can, like, as her other half, I can feel and understand um the, let's call it, mom guilt that she has, and the stress and everything that she's going through, the things that she wants out of life, that she's like, this is what I want to be here, but she can't have it. Like she would love the picture perfect Hallmark family Christmas, Thanksgiving, fill in the blank, where everybody's perfect, everybody, has a good time, everyone's whatever eating, and everybody like, but it's just unfortunately just not the situation for us, and it hasn't been the situation for us and like forever, right? There's been glimpses, there's been hopes, but it's there's so many individuals with like the lack of influence of like of that type of influence, the lack of let's get better. Let's figure out a better way to do this. Let's not be so emotional. Let's not fucking jump off the cliff. Like, let's just, you know, but again, it takes work. And then if there's future generations, then that's where you start implementing some of these learnings that you learn later on in life. And again, it's just unfortunate in terms of all the things that we want and or the things that Patty wants in certain aspects and the things that we just can't attain because of the parties involved. And so the thing I had mentioned to Patty, and I think this is what she needs. I'm like, babe, I think you need somebody to be able to, um, like, I think every couple of days you need a day to just like get whatever's inside that's bothering you or that's emotionally affecting you out. Like whether it's writing and journal or you need to go sit with a friend and you just need someone outside of me to sit with and maybe, if you got to cry, cry. If you need to hug, hug, like whatever you need. But I feel like that's something we need. I feel like, especially if you're feeling down and out, like if you're feeling down and out or you're feeling like an emotional strive, I feel like it's important to acknowledge it, write it, say it, scream it. But like once you get it out, it's like the beginning to the end of that detrimental feeling, I would say. So my what I'm gonna work on, there's a couple things that I'm gonna keep working on is making sure I stay cool, calm, collected. Use these things as references. So again, I don't if let's say for example things happen and we're back out together and everybody's out and something similar happens, I'm going to make sure that I refer back to that situation and understand that I don't want Patty, I don't want myself, I don't want everybody else feeling the way they're feeling and do something different, right? And then the second thing is I'm going to work on ensuring that like Patty has her moments or her days that she can have a few hours just to herself without having to, worry about anything else other than working on the stuff, working the things out, um, on her, like just being able to work those things out, or even just say those things out, or even just sit in a room and like not worry about anything else other than, working on it really. Or maybe not, or maybe just coloring or something. I don't know. But I know that that's it's needed because if you just fucking stuff it away and keep stuffing it away and keep stuffing it away, it's all that's gonna happen is like the same situation where I reacted and I got upset. So thank you very much for listening. Again, hopefully, if you're going through something like that, whether it's with family members, whether it's within a relationship or anything like that, I would say you got to give yourself, some time, give yourself some time to reflect, ask yourself, is my situation, what's my outcome? Am I happy about this outcome? Is this like a feeling of that I want to keep repeating? Or is this a feeling that I don't want to keep repeating? And if it does keep repeating, then there's something wrong. There's something that's happening that I continue putting myself in a situation with either the situation or people in the situation and or how am I filtering through my emotions, which then lead to my actions, which then again leads to this repetitive journey. So that's it for this one. Okay. I hope all is well. I hope you're doing great. I hope some of this can work. If you have any comments or you have any thoughts on this perspective, feel free to leave a comment on the podcast. You can connect with me personally, your spiritual hype man. Find me on Instagram. I'll leave my Instagram down below as well. And then you can also follow NCUID Instagram, which again, I feel like you might as well just follow both. We do more of the content right now on my personal, but I would love to hear from you. Yeah, if you find this stuff good and positive and anything like that. But just remember, like you don't know. Here's the last thing: you don't know what people are going through, and I think we hear that before, right? I had a couple phone calls today. Some of the homies that called me, they're dealing with certain shit, like similar, maybe not the same exact fucking story, but like people deal with things on a daily, and you may not know or may not understand like what they may be going through. So if you have friends or if you're looking for someone, just find that for you. I can be that for you. Keep tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Support the channel. If you guys have ideas how we can support the channel and grow it, I'd love to get more people on the podcast. We have other people signed up for um, uh, some guests to come on. And again, like always, buy a t-shirt, do something awesome. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one. Keep crushing it. Don't forget, nothing changes until you do. Peace.